Hello, folks. Welcome back to Rhetoric 306 at the University of Texas. It is still me, Dr. Sapio, but I am not turning on my video today. I have caught the virus, not COVID, that my daughter had yesterday. And I again appreciate your patience waiting on this video lecture, which I'm going to make short so that you're not staring at these screens without that additional kind of engagement. So let's go ahead and get to business. We have a lot on our agenda. I do want to review again, but just for the sake of clarity, the Project 2 requirements, which you can access on the Canvas course website. We're going to review a few specific pages from your textbook relevant to a focus statement and also show you a sample rhetorical analysis essay that has been annotated for you to point out things that it does well in your textbook. We're also going to look at the MLA formatting and style guide resources that I have posted for you in Canvas. And we're going to transition into a couple of activities relevant to your reading from chapter 13 on creating written compositions. We'll do some free writing. I'll show you some key terms and takeaways from that chapter about the writing process more generally. So let's go ahead and pop in to remind ourselves about the requirements for researching those 8 sources for viewpoint to information to scholarly. And then let's go check out the requirements to see specifically what you'll be reporting out about them this week. And to give you a specific example, we'll turn to pages 63 to 65 in our textbook to see that sample rhetorical analysis, and I will show you the guide to make sure your MLA formatting and citation style is all up to speed. So let's look over at the Canvas course website for the Project 2 requirements. From the home page, you'll just navigate down to modules and click into Unit 2, and you'll see the Project 2 assignment there. You're very clear at this point. You have already done such a great job researching and working on collecting those 8 to 10 related texts on the topic that I've been so interested to follow you all on your discussion posts and see your initial topics and then how you narrow down to a more focused controversy related to, in some way, our existence together on the UT campus. So, of course, you have the breakdown of those 4 viewpoint texts, 2 information texts, and 2 scholarly. But then once you have collected those this week, what are you reporting out about? So under this you will section, you're going to see that really clearly indicated. The first section of your essay talks about the controversy. What's at stake? Who are the stakeholders? How are they involved? And then evaluate the purposes of the sources that you found, how they speak to differing perspectives and points of view within your controversy. And then the next section of your essay, perhaps arguably the more substantial section of your essay, is specifically rhetorically analyzing 3 of your sources. And so that's why last time we practiced those questions to ask, analyzing written rhetoric from Nikotra chapter 3, and you have that Google form posted as well to help guide you through some guided writing there to get some content and material as you analyze each of your sources. So you're summarizing the main points, you are analyzing the rhetorical strategies, i.e. ethos, pathos, and logos that the author uses, and also evaluating how effective it is ultimately, its strengths and perhaps weaknesses. You will be, just like last time, citing your sources, not just the 3, but all 8 to 10 in a works cited section at the end of your paper, but I also want to review with you all, since I have had some questions about in-text citation. So we're going to be seeing the Purdue University Online Writing Lab today and help you to bookmark those resources for this class and for your future writing endeavors as well. So just like last time, this is 1,000 to 1,500 words long. In other words, you're going to be needing to use clear, efficient language and essentially condense your analyses into quick paragraphs as you move through more sources than last time in the same amount of words. So let's go ahead and check out your ebook now, which again, you can access through modules, and then click on ebook here, and we'll pull up chapter 3 and look together at page 63. Here we are. Let me get this refocused. Hang on. There we go. That makes it a little easier. So on page 63, you're going to see, well, actually, just to kind of back up a little bit to last week, here are those questions to ask that I had you all practice with last week on just one of your sources. And essentially, you want to go through each of your 3 and ask each of the 3 that you're going to focus on for project 2 and ask these questions about the main point, the ethical appeals, what sort of character the communicator creates, the appeals to the audience's emotions, essentially pathetic appeals, and then a discussion of the tone and style, the language, word choice, etc. So this is going to give you some good notes, some good content for evaluating each of your 3 sources. And then this week, as you move into synthesizing this great list, again, we're in chapter 3 of preparing to write a rhetorical analysis, guides you through the next few steps of finding a focus for your essay. You can see a sufficient kind of template for a thesis statement here by doing these specific things, A, B, and C main rhetorical devices. The communicator aims to accomplish blank, the main purpose. So that's a helpful template if you want to start from there. And then we have an example annotated rhetorical analysis essay here in your textbook. And I just wanted to remind you of this and highlight it again. This is a longer version of a rhetorical analysis on just one text. You're going to be doing shorter rhetorical analyses of 3 texts, but still it's a nice model or an example for you all when approaching project 2 composition this week of what a rhetorical analysis essay looks like. So I want to encourage you to take a look at these annotations on the right-hand side, which point out to you things that are working well about the rhetorical analysis. So you have the title, Doing Rhetorical Work, giving readers a sense of the argument and the purpose of the essay. You have an introduction, engaging the reader and establishing the general topic. So think about the kind of academic summaries that we were practicing a couple of weeks ago to really condense the author's argument into one sentence, essentially, in your own words. You've got a summary of Hudson's article here. I'm going to go ahead and move ahead to page 64. You have a main point or thesis that the essay goes on to develop and support, which is found at the end of the introduction in this form of an academic essay. And so let's go ahead and just read this as an example of a thesis statement. Hudson demonstrates her rhetorical savvy in the article by presenting a well-balanced argument that thoughtfully considers why public shaming might seem like an attractive option. This is an essay about social media and bullying online. However, the article's main persuasive device is an emotional appeal in the form of an analogy. By likening public shaming to bullying, Hudson draws on the powerful negative emotions that have been generated by the large amount of current media coverage devoted to bullying. So this isn't the topic necessarily that you all are going to be writing your project 2 about, but you do get a sense of the work of a rhetorical analyst, which is to pick out the main purpose and the appeals used by the author to support their position. And so whatever you see your authors doing, whatever strategies you see them using, go ahead and synthesize and focus that into a statement, and then go through the essay and show us how that works. Give us the evidence as well. So we have an incident here that is relevant to the exigence. You should certainly talk about the exigence of your pieces as relevant as well. We have the ethical argument discussed here in this paragraph. I'm going to go on to page 65, last page, to review here from the textbook. We have a paragraph referring back to a thesis statement that we just read about the emotional appeals, and essentially making that argument that there's an analogy. And we have the evidence in the form of direct quotations, which you all will be using as well. For example, here she writes, comma, open quotation mark, include the text of the quotation, and then closing punctuation mark, and then closing quotation mark. So this is a nice segue actually into our MLA formatting and style guide reminder as well, which we'll move on to in just one moment. Just finishing up this sample rhetorical analysis, you can see further discussion of the emotional appeals, and as well as a discussion of how those emotional appeals land among particular audience members. So this is a great rhetorical analysis in that it considers as many relevant features of the rhetorical situation as possible: exigence, purpose, context, audience, communicator's ethos, emotional appeals, etc. And you're attempting to do that comprehensive work on your 3 sources that you're specifically analyzing as well, albeit, and I want to say this again, in a more condensed format. This is a long, multiple paragraphs about one source. You are going to be needing to move at a quicker pace to meet your word count. And in other words, I don't mind reading a little more, folks, for the record, but also I just want to prevent you from turning this into like a 7,500 word essay, which really is not necessary. It's a practice in condensing and efficient and clear language. So let's go ahead and pop on over to the MLA formatting style and guide at the Purdue University Online Writing Lab. So here's a great resource that I have linked for you in your Unit 2 module. It is from Purdue University, the Online Writing Lab. Excellent list of resources. And in addition to the handout that I already provided you all from the University Writing Center when we were completing Project 1, giving you guidelines for the work cited, the Purdue OWL site additionally has in-text citation information that's easily accessible, so I just wanted to show you where this lives. You do have a citation generator here that you can use if you didn't just automatically export your citations out of the library databases. We have information, like I said, about works cited lists, which you all have good practice completing in Project 1. Just a friendly reminder to alphabetize those and double check that the alignment is correct. You got left aligned first lines and then indent for second and following lines in each entry, as you see in these examples. But we also have, in addition to the works cited, where's the menu is all messed up. Hang on. There, sorry, I just had to expand the screen a little bit so you could see the menu over here on the left. I just wanted to point out to you that you've got sample works cited pages here, a sample paper if you want to double check your whole formatting as far as spacing, headers, page numbers, 1-inch margins all the way around. You can double check that there. But what I particularly wanted to show you here was the MLA in-text citations, the basics, because I did have a couple of questions on that point. So within your paragraph, when you're referring to the works of others, you do that with parenthetical citations. The general guidelines are that you are going to cite the page number if it's a print edition, and if you use the author's name in the sentence, there's no need to repeat that again in the parentheses. However, if you don't indicate the author's name within the sentence, like in this example, you would want to put the author's name in parentheses, and then again, punctuation goes outside the parentheses. So that's just a helpful, I hope, quick reminder of in-text citations. Okay, now, last but not least, I want to give us a couple of writing exercises to get our kind of juices flowing, if you will, this week in our lead up to turning in and submitting this project too. So let's head back over to the slides for a couple of key points, key takeaways from your chapter 13 reading. Okay, so in preparation for writing this week, I had you all read for homework chapter 13, which is all about composing written compositions. And so a few of the key terms I wanted to review for you were some of the steps in the process, in this kind of organic, dynamic, adaptable and changeable process of writing, which we all find ourselves in and practicing differently throughout our lives. But indeed, these 3 steps are essential. Invention is the process of generating ideas and arguments, which sometimes is not actually writing anything down at all, but doing the research and the thinking and the sitting out in your garden and kind of staring off into space and having that aha moment. We're going to practice a little bit of that invention process for the remainder of class today. Drafting is that process of shaping those ideas. You probably have lots of notes at this point. You've been using noodle tools. You have been keeping track of direct quotations. And now at this point, you are trying to shape what goes into the introduction. What quotations are you going to use and what quotations are you going to leave behind? And then ultimately, you are going to be clarifying and reshaping during the revision process. We saw a visual, I referred to a visual of this kind of dynamic flowing process earlier this semester, and I'll remind you of it now. Right? So you'll recognize this, essentially kind of different language, but the same conceptual framework of this tripartite process that you can move into and out of the phases, among the phases seamlessly and effortlessly. So you're planning, you're thinking about your purpose, you're doing research, you're outlining, you're organizing, you're moving into writing. That gives you another idea you have to add to your outline, right? You skip right ahead to revising your first paragraph, doing some grammar and proofreading checks, and then you move back into drafting or writing the remainder of your essay. So I encourage you all to be flexible with yourselves this week as you draft and compose project 2, and acknowledge the validity of all of these steps in the process. Keep a notebook handy, put something to write with beside your bed. You never know when you'll get a good idea in the middle of the night. You need to wake up and jot that down. That's a little bit of personal advice there. Okay. Let's go ahead and move into some free writing activities and get some of those ideas out on paper. So quick review of the free writing process in case you all have never practiced it before. Chapter 13 talks to us about just a number of ways of generating ideas. Free writing is one, mind mapping is another. I found a great software program called MindMeister, MIND, and then MEISTER. You might want to check that out if you're interested in doing some mind mapping, some digital mind mapping. They also talk about questioning as ways to engage yourself in brainstorming and planning activity before you get to drafting. But for our purposes today, we're going to free write with these following three stipulations. The first rule is to keep writing. You may not stop writing to to think at this point. This is more about the mechanical muscle movement of keeping your paper and your pen and pencil busy. Okay, so we're going to practice a free writing session. For our purposes, we're going to do 8 minutes, although you all may want to try the Pomodoro technique and do 20 minutes at a time, 30. Even some graduate students at the UWC will do 50 minutes at a time. Your choice if you need that as kind of some external motivation and a time management tool. So setting a timer and then writing nonstop, not erasing or crossing anything out, but allowing your mind to kind of stream of consciousness flow is going to be really, really productive in getting content and ideas out on the page. And then who cares if it's ugly or bad or grammatically incorrect or has spelling errors, because we have the revision process and you can always go back and fix those things after the fact. So if you have not tried this free writing technique, or even if you are well versed at it, let's go ahead and take this time right now. And I was considering, should I say pause, should I say pause the video? But no, I'm going to actually play music right now and only pause the video just to grab a piece of paper if you need one. Also, I do genuinely mean paper and pen and pencil, although you may think it's an extra step. The cognitive research on this topic suggests that we have greater recall, comprehension, and creativity, in fact, when we write by hand as opposed to digitally on word processors. So hopefully I've delayed you enough to give you a chance to get that paper and pen. We're going to keep writing nonstop. I'm going to play a little bit of music. You're not going to erase or cross anything out, but just let the ideas flow. Here are a couple of ideas or prompts for your writing. You can answer one or multiple or all or none of these questions related to Project 2 during this free writing time. Take them or leave them essentially as ideas, but do write for 8 minutes on your topic. What do you want to continue researching for Project 2? What parts of your paper are uncertain or unfinished? What arguments within your controversy don't you understand? Or what elements of the controversy do you want to pursue further? So let's go ahead and set the timer now for 8 minutes, and I will get us some music playing. Ready? Right.
And if we all just float away, so far from where we came from, to find a new angelic place for our mistakes to undo, a new beginning without end, a new release without pain, when we repeat our faults once more. for this. And if we all just float away, so far from where we came from, to find a new angelic place, all our mistakes are undone. Can we begin without release, without pain? Thoughts once tell me that you want me, that you feel the same. Tell me that you want me, hold me up. Tell me that you want me, that you feel the same. Tell me that you want me, hold me up.
Okay, folks, I hope that was helpful time for you all to spend and focus on the invention process, the brainstorming, ideating, organizing, drafting, and composing processes that we are going to be embarking upon this week. Let's go ahead and head into our for next time slide. This one is self-explanatory, folks. Compose your project to reach out to me with any questions and concerns. I'm at jsapio@utexas.edu. And quick final reminders about the University Writing Center. There, I've realigned that for you all. uwc.utexas.edu is where you access them. You can chat online. You can schedule an appointment with a writing consultant up to 3 times per essay. It is not too late this week to head in and schedule a writing appointment. They do have writing groups and other handy resources there as well. And the last resource I wanted to remind you of is your UT library guide for Rhetoric 306. Remember, you have this posted on your Canvas course website as well. Our librarians, specifically for this course, who are very familiar with Project 2 and absolutely willing and able to help you out on any last minute research questions, are Elise Naka. You can email and schedule an appointment there, and Z Liu. So those are my friendly reminders. Until next time, folks, send me an email if you have any questions or concerns.